Today we're going to take a look back at the game from last night between Murray State and Marquette. Morant went for a triple-double, had about 16 assists, 10 rebounds, got involved, got out in transition, really put on a show, and Marquette really had no answer for him. So today we're going to look at the first 5 minutes of the game, break down little pieces of it from both sides, both from what Murray State did, what Morant did, and kind of where Marquette struggled. So right away, starting off the game, Murray State got straight into attacking. So it was a lot of handoffs, a lot of pick and rolls, and a lot of plays like this. The biggest thing that I think Marquette struggled with, if we take a look, even on plays like this, so they started with Annam on him, good defender, good length, tried to disrupt him like that, and we see the handoff, and now I can't tell now if Joey Hauser here is going to blitz this, if they're supposed to double, if he's just going to wait for Annam to recover and then come back and take the roll man. But what happens is they both follow the best player on the court, which is fine. But now we got a guy wide open. Theo John's about to get posted up, so he's going to have to stay with Coward down here. And now there's enough space. And that's no ball pressure at all. He could have taken the shot if he wanted to. Both Hauser and Annam go. And that was a wide open layup to start the game. So it was a lot of plays like this the whole game for Morant that really allowed him to open up and be free by Marquette really not communicating on these pick and rolls and handoffs. Here Theo John had a post up, and Annam's going to get a pretty good look. He struggled really all night, but they're going to get the easy second chance. This was a pretty rough game for Sakari Annam. Couldn't make any shots for them. Neither one of the Hausers really got going. I thought Sam played pretty well, did a good job of rebounding the ball, but it really was a struggle overall. Now early on, Marcus Howard was really going. These pick and rolls, I mean, that's a great step back move right there. Creating his space, understanding this is a switch, he can win this matchup every time. I mean, 9 times out of 10, he can blow by Coward, and here he knows he can just dance with him. And that's ample space for him, even at 5'11", to get that shot up and in. So again, Morant getting a switch here. A lot of this was getting in transition, even off of makes. Murray State pushed the ball and put Marquette in a lot of situations they didn't want to be in. So now with this isolation, look at where all the help is. You got 2 guys at the center line. Obviously, with this mismatch, you're going to want to help. But I think part of the problem was that even when they were doing this, Morant's so slippery, he was still able to do what he wanted for the most part. So here, if I'm Theo John, that's kind of a win for me. If he wants to pull up and he wants to hit close to an NBA range 3, like a little bit better hand, but you almost live with that if you're Marquette. For Morant, really just showed phenomenal patience, and if there was any doubt about whether or not he's a top 3 pick, whether or not he's going to be, an elite player in the NBA, I think this game, if you really watch it, showed a lot about who he is. Here's a double screen, kind of high screen. They run a lot to get Sam Hauser open. Really good on-ball defense, and they forced a tough shot, but Marcus Howard's just too good one-on-one. What I think Marquette really struggled with against this pressure, which Murray State brought for 90 feet for a lot of the game, was when they ran plays like this, normally Sam Hauser can get open on this. But, see, right now, if Sam Hauser gets the ball, that's an open 3. I feel like Marcus Howard did a little bit too much of trying to create for himself, especially as the game went on and things started to get out of hand. If he gets that ball out quicker to Sam Hauser, that's a step and 3. He can make that from a couple feet behind the line. Now, instead, he's still going to get a shot. He's so good at getting buckets that that's a shot he can make. I mean, he gets just enough separation. That's excellent defense right there. Hand right where you want it to be. But he gets an and 1. And then here we're just going to see it's a great rebound and pass. I thought Cole played really well for Murray State. I thought he did a really excellent job of rebounding the ball. You see he gets it here. Throws a little no-look right there. I mean, they said he lost about 40 pounds since he got on campus. He played for most of the game. Really did a good job inside as a rim protector, too, even for a guy who's not, overly athletic. Here's another one of Ja Morant's assists, straight to the corner. And on this play, I didn't really understand what Marquette was looking at here. Because if you go back, I don't know what they expected that to be. Just a simple swing and bounds. And now you got two guys running at Ja Morant. And I think for Marquette, obviously the game plan is don't let Ja Morant get going, know where he is at all times. So they're going to send two guys at him. But the problem is now Brown's wide open. That's a good three-point shooter. And that's a wide open shot. As I watched this game and I watched a little bit of it over again, I was really questioning, and really just for the future for teams playing Murray State, I want to know if it's better to just let Ja Morant get his 25 to 30 and then try to clamp down on these shooters, because his vision is so good. If you come over, he's not rushing it. He's not going to do too much. But, I guess we'll see what happens in the next round. Here was good patience by Joey Hauser. He got the and one. I think for Marquette as a whole, they didn't do enough of this. Hauser had the size the entire game. Marquette runs 4 perimeter players in court for pretty much the entire game. And Hauser really didn't have a lot of opportunities to do this because I think on one hand he didn't get the ball enough. And on the other hand, the pressure was so much to where I feel like the rest of the players were rushing it. And it really just seemed like Murray State was taking their time, going at their own pace, and Marquette was the team that was actually rushing. So here another high pick and roll. Again, miscommunication. That's an easy layup and dump off pass. One thing to appreciate about Ja Morant, as I said before, is he didn't come into this game saying, let me put on a Kemba Walker show, let me try to put up 30, put up 40. He just came in and he played his game. He said, whatever you're going to give me is what I'm going to take. So here they jumped over to take that away. And if that's a read for Annam, then typically you'd expect Joey Hauser to be here ready if they're going to try to ice the screen. He jumps over to where the screen's coming. Maybe he didn't know where, but as a result, because Joey Hauser's a little bit late right here, if you're not here, Ja Morant's too quick. Even if you come, he might split you. But if you're all the way on this side, that's a wide open lane. Really, most guards in any level are going to be able to go by and, take this wide open avenue. Now you put Ed Morrow in a tough spot because we got Terrell Brown here in the corner. We got a good shooter. And Marcus Howard's not really going to leave him at this point. So he's just going to dump off past the court and there's nobody there. It's just a simple 2-on-1. Now, Annam, I feel like for the first part of this game was on Ja Morant a lot. And, I'm looking at the first, 5 to 10 minutes of the game for this analysis. I really like when Bailey was on him because I feel like he was a little bit longer, a little bit more active, and I think he was a little bit more disruptive when Ja Morant would get to the basket. But I felt like it was plays like this all game. This is nothing complicated. This is not any type of advanced read. This is just Ja Morant saying, I'm going to drive here, draw the help, kick it out to my shooter in the corner. Murray State does an excellent job of spacing off of Ja Morant's penetration. Sam Hauser comes over and, this is tough because you say, well, you're helping over too much, don't leave the corner, which is generally true. Ja Morant might be a special situation because if he gets into this gap, Ed Morrow's going to have to help over, and then you have to hope that maybe Sam Hauser can play 2 here and take off the dump-off pass. But he might have taken a step too far, can't recover after the shooter, and that's another 3. He had a couple baseline drives here in the first half that were spectacular to me, and this was one of them. kicking out to get this three. When you look at Ja Morant's game, I see a bunch of Russell Westbrook and I see a little bit of De'Aaron Fox. Just his ability to blow by guys, but also he can stop on a dime, change direction. Here he goes behind the back. Joey Hauser cuts off his initial move. Doesn't matter, let me go behind the back. And then here, if you're Sakar Annam, this is a little bit of a defensive problem, I would say, just because you would prefer for his foot to be on the baseline here. So Ja Morant's got to run you over in order to make this pass. Instead, he has a little bit of a crease, jumps up, and can find the shooter, and that's a wide open three. The vision was there all day. This is everything for Ja Morant. I think playmaking is actually his top skill, even above getting to the rim and catching bodies when he has the opportunity. So again, you look at the ball handling, and good block right here. Before we get into the transition for Marquette, I just want to talk about, again, this is simple, but simple is what works in the NBA. Two guys come at you. You got a big guy high. In the NBA, this is going to more likely be a guy who can get this ball, go up to the rim. Cowart's pretty smart passer, so he gets it, doesn't hold it too long, takes a dribble, forces Joey Hauser to come over, and then that's a good help side block by Ed Morrow. I mean, that was a good block, help side block by Ed Morrow to initiate transition from Marquette. But here we see a post up. They didn't really get the ball into Cowart, I don't think, as much as they could have. I thought Ed Morrow did a nice job down there. Theo John is one of the better post defenders on the team, very physical. So I think it was better to get in the ball higher and more off these short pick and rolls. But this was just the type of day it was for Murray State. You look at how teams defend them, and the ones who have beaten them have found a way to turn over Ja Morant and then also contest these other guys, make it difficult for the rest of the team to get shots. Shots like these are just, I mean, kind of a late hand there by Sam Hauser, but if a guy wants to shoot long twos, I mean, that's normally what you would live with. Here's another high pick and roll from Marcus Howard. First half, I thought he was really good for the first, I would say, like 12 to 15 minutes in the first half. I thought he was really good, putting on a show, and was kind of going toe-to-toe with Morant to an extent. Here they get a switch, and this is kind of what I wanted to see more of out of Howard and Hauser. I think this is one of the best pick-and-pop duos in the Big East, other than maybe Phil Booth and Eric Paschal at Villanova. Because Howard's always a threat. Right now, Howard's a threat. He could shoot this ball if he wants. He made a couple deep ones. But at Murray State, that's a lot of attention right here on Howard. All it takes is that little dribble, and one dribble here. That's all it takes. Now you're going to have an open shooter. If you're Ja Morant, you got to help a little bit more on Sam Hauser here, because Brendan Bailey, I thought, played really well. It was one of the better games I've seen him play. I think he got energized by defending Ja Morant. But if you're Ja Morant right here, you can't be playing in this middle area. You got the help here. I would be more concerned about Sam Hauser than I would be about Marcus Howard splitting these guys, because at that point, you're going to have two lines of defense. There's no one here. He's kind of in a middle ground because he's not going to stop Howard if he did drive anyway. And at this point, like I said earlier in the video, this is kind of a sweet spot for Sam Hauser. He's really good from these wings and from the top of the key. That's just a step in three. Not much help right there. Then again, high pick and roll. Let Marcus Howard operate. They should have taken more advantage of Cowart, I feel like, in these pick and rolls. I think as the game went on, it got sped up, and Marquette felt like they were so behind, they had to take quick shots, weren't able to really get into any type of sets or actions. And that's just a powerful finish. I mean, he's probably 5'11", with shoes on a good day. You know, not too big, probably like 175, 180. And this is just help comes over, That's just a skilled finish right there for Marcus Howard. And at this point, if you're Marquette, you're thinking Murray State's blistering from three, making a couple mid-range shots. Ja Morant's not really scoring. You might think you're in a good space, but it really continued to go downhill for them even later in the first half, and then the second half it just fell apart. Here we still had Marcus Howard doing what he does, creating, getting to the basket, and keeping Marquette alive. Because Marcus Howard in the first half was really doing most of the work. Sam Hauser was a little bit involved in the offense, but other than that, there wasn't a lot of help for Marquette. Here's a double screen. Again, they love the action with either Joey or Sam Hauser up here, so they can then slip and get a harder roll for Theo John if anyone helps over. Right here, again, Joey Hauser's open. I think Marcus Howard was very aggressive, trying to score early and often, and then in the second half, she took a bunch of shots, a lot of contested ones. But here, at this point now, Murray State has recovered. So if you're Marcus Howard here coming down the court, and you see the screen, all right, right now, because you basically got Murray State's own defenders acting as a screen for Joey Hauser. There's no chance that he's going to be able to recover, and that's an open three right there. Instead, wait a little bit longer. All right, now the defense set again. Thankfully for Marcus Howard, like I said earlier, he's a bucket. He hits these shots all year. It's nothing new. And he comes off it with a mindset. This is not Marcus Howard being selfish or trying to look away from Joey Hauser. This is him saying, I'm in a rhythm, I'm feeling it. Let me get into my jump shot. And his pull-up from three, one of the best in the country. And again, at this point, that three ties the game at 20-20. Now here's really where Marquette started to struggle to me. And this was as the tempo was being pushed. So here, everybody gets sucked in, leave a shooter again. Murray State shot about 9-18 from three. It was a lot of pretty easy looks. But here you look at it, you got 5 white jerseys in the picture. So there's really no reason why you should be leaving a shooter. But transition all game, it really broke down in the second half. But it was just a lot of miscommunication for Marquette. So if you're Brendan Bailey, that's right, you got to stay with Ja Morant. You have to. But now if you're Joey Hauser, you got to find somebody because your brother just stopped the ball. All right, Brendan Bailey's going to have to stay with Ja Morant. Theo John, you're expecting your big to run to the rim. His guy's a non-factor. But you got pretty much the best shooter on Murray State right here. And now Brendan Bailey's going to have to go try to contest that. And that's way too late. And just look at a couple more clips of the first half for the first like 10 or so minutes. Another example of what I thought should have happened more often with these matchups with both of the Hauser brothers. I think Theo John struggled in post-up situations this game, but Sam's good in the post. He's a good post-up player, has a good turnaround, usually pretty good patience and footwork down there, especially when he has a matchup. So here, he's not going to attack him in the post because everyone's sunk down. So this is good patience. He had to pass out to Joe if he wanted to. No help comes. All right, let me use my size. To me, that should have been Marquette all game. I love Marcus Howard's game. I love the way he can score and put up points. But when you're facing a team that's killing you in transition and they're getting out and going, and then you're compounding that by taking quick shots, if the quick shots are going in, you're fine. And here it's only a 3-point game. But you got to be able to slow the game down at some point because my mindset into this game was two teams with similar up-tempo styles, shoot a lot of shots, shoot a lot of threes. Marquette really has individually, I think Marcus Howard, Sam Hauser, and Joey Hauser were 3 of the 5 best players on the court. But when you don't have plays like this, where you just say, all right, I got the mismatch. Ja Morant's kind of coming over, not really worried about Bailey over here. Baseline's wide open. It's me shooting over like 6'3". That's not an issue. Sam Hauser's about 6'7", 6'8". They should have been doing that a lot. And then finally, here's one last clip we'll look at from the first half. After this Brendan Bailey dunk off a just bad inbounds pass. And this is going to be another high pick and roll for Marcus Howard. It's going to stop, pop, and hit a three. Now, what I will say about this game that I think Murray State really did a nice job of is, on top of Ja Morant playing with his pace, I don't feel like they ever let up defensively. I thought the pressure was always there. They did a good job on the most part for guarding Marcus Howard. Even if you look at this play right here, that's not bad defense. He loses his footing a little bit, so yeah, you lose him. But my mindset with guarding threes like that is at some point, they're generally going to start missing them. I mean, they really did a good job of guarding Marcus Howard and doing a nice job of making sure those complementary pieces didn't do too much. So obviously when you guard Marquette, you know, this is a one play if you play Marquette that can really kill you. Because these are the two best players on the team, Marcus Howard and Sam Hauser. Hauser slipping. Still think he should have gotten the ball a little bit more here. But this is a play if you can guard consistently and make difficult on Marquette, you have a shot. Now Marcus Howard and Sam Hauser can hit those tough shots, but throughout the game, Murray State wore them down. And, you know, I think just look at the rest of the first half here. Since there's only a few more clips to look at. This is, to me, one of the more impressive plays Ja Morant had. I said there was a couple baseline plays. There's the one earlier where he found the guy at the top of the key, and then there was this one. 5 white jerseys right here, all eyes on Ja Morant. He goes up. I don't know how you make this corner pass. This is a pass I can't name 5 guys in the country who I could see making. There's a lot of guys in the NBA who can't make that pass, who don't see that. And that's just a great pass, wide open three. A lot of guys, if you get in this position, it's already going to be tough because you're going to have, you know, you got 10 hands right here that are going to be all taking away your vision and everything. A lot of guys would get up here and say, let me just try to draw this foul. He thought about it, but understood, well, there's all these guys on me. Someone's got to be open. This dump-off pass wasn't open. That was going to be an angle he wasn't going to be able to get based on where he was at. So what does he do? Find the corner, find the opposite corner, and that's a great pass into a good three. And here, we talk about the pick and roll prowess. You talk about what you need to be good to be an elite point guard in the NBA. You got to be able to work this pick and roll. So here's one coming. Bailey's on him. Like I said, from the first, I would say, first half of the first half, there was a lot of Sakar Annam on Ja Morant. They put Brendan Bailey on him. I thought he did an excellent job, given the circumstances. But again, this is where I don't understand Marquette's pick and roll defense, because if you're coming to a game, you're going to have a strategy on how you want to guard pick and rolls, especially if you have the best point guard in the country coming off of them. He's going to get a wide open pass to the corner here. Good read again. But to look at Marquette's pick and roll defense, all right, he's coming up. So are we making him use the screen, or are we going to have him go away from the screen and try to bring the help the other way? Because right now it looks like by Bailey's footwork, he's kind of in the middle. He doesn't know if he's going to make him use it. I don't know if Sam Hauser's communicating to him or not. But he jumps the high side. If you jump the high side, you're going to need that help from the defender who's on the roll guy. So instead, Sam Hauser looks like he thinks he's coming over the top. Now that's, again, wide open lane like we saw earlier. He can do whatever he wants with that. Help comes over. That's a wide open pass to the corner. That wasn't even a tough decision for Ja Morant with the wide open kick off the drive. And now here, we're going to see a really strong post-up from Ed Morrow. Like I said, I thought the post-up game was going to be the one thing that Marquette could use, because you have 3 guys in your starting lineup in both the Hausers and Theo John that were going to have a strength mismatch, a size mismatch. And here Ed Morrow just made a nice move. Struggled a little bit in the second half to finish, but overall, I think he did a good job. And here again, they needed a lot more activity to get Sam Hauser open, I think. It is tough. Murray State did a good job staying tight on them for the most part. But this was, again, you get the ball into the post, and this is why I felt like the post-up game was going to be huge for them, because it was going to get to the point, at least I thought it should have gotten to the point, where Marquette would be scoring so easily in the post that you would have to send the help. And at that point, you got guys scrambling out to plus shooters all around the court for Marquette. So here, Ed Morrow doesn't have it. Got it deep. Now he got it deep. Annam's going to get it. And now again, Sam Hauser from his favorite spot just steps right in, hits the three. And as the game went on, I think Marquette felt a little defeated when you see a team make as many threes as Murray State did. Totally understandable. But there's still got to be a little bit more effort to utilize post-ups to slow down the game. If we actually look at when they got the ball in the post, Marquette was abusing Murray State in the post for the most part. I mean, it was a lot of plays where they were getting good looks, getting fouls. They didn't make them all, but it was a good possession. And they didn't turn the ball over a lot either. I want to make that clear. Murray State played really good pressure defense, but they didn't turn over Marquette a ton. It was more so they were just taking quick shots, which might as well have been turnovers. So a handoff again, great pass. Ja Morant's vision and his touch as a passer, which I think is something people don't talk about enough in terms of playmakers as a whole, is being able to put the ball softly where it needs to be, especially off actions like this. So we saw one of these earlier in the first half that I talked about on the opposite end, where I wasn't sure what Marquette's strategy on handoffs was. In here, it looks like they did the same thing. They're following, and they're pretty much doubling. But now if you're down here and you're Ed Morrow, all right, he doesn't really seal you. Coer's not really sealing you here. So who's picking up the roll guy? If that's Bailey's job and they just decide here that's a switch, he's not going to be able to recover just all right ball pressure, but all he has to do is throw it at the rim. Because right now, Coer's already taken Morrow completely out of the play. Looks like it might have been a setup for a lob. All you got is Chartouni down there, who's not big enough to get up and contest that. And then finally, the last play of the half. And to me, I know this sounds crazy, but to me, this was a shot that kind of made it seem like, you know, Marquette was going to struggle because you've been holding down Ja Morant pretty much all half. Didn't score a bunch, still controlled the game, though. And right here, you got Bailey on him. Says, let me just dance for a second. Get the step back three. And this is from a guy who's, you know, shooting low 30s as a three-point shooter. Ja Morant's not a lethal three-point shooter, but he makes his shot, and that's just, it's a tough way to go into halftime. And that shot, to me, just continued the momentum on. Murray State got that win. And now they'll move on to play Florida State, who is going to be a tough game, but I think it's a game that they can pull away if Ja Morant can go off again.